The wind screamed across the white plains. Snow rose in long waves, and the frozen ground shook with the voice of the storm. In this endless land of ice, one small human home stood like a weak candle in the dark. Inside lived a man named Aaron. He was the last settler left after others had given up and fled. Cold, hunger, and fear had pushed them away, but Aaron stayed because he had nowhere else to go. His days were simple but heavy. He cut wood for fire, melted ice for water, and checked the traps he had set outside. Sometimes he found a small animal, most times he found nothing. His body grew thin, his hands always cold, his eyes always sharp. He spoke to no one. He heard no voices, only the endless cry of the wind. But at night, when the storm was quiet, he sometimes felt something strange. It was like eyes were watching him through the dark. He told himself it was only the snow shifting, only his mind playing tricks. Still, the feeling never left him. One night he woke with a start. The fire had burned low and the house was nearly dark. He listened, his ears sharp, his breath held in his chest. Their footsteps, soft but real, pressing on the frozen floor outside. Aaron's heart pounded. No one should be here. No one had been here for months. He grabbed the old metal tool he used for chopping wood. Holding it tight, the steps moved closer, then stopped. Silence returned, heavy and endless. He waited, but no knock. No voice came. Only the wind returned, sliding past the door. Morning came, and Aaron opened the door with care. The snow outside was untouched, smooth as if no one had walked there. He searched for tracks but found nothing. Maybe the storm had erased them, or maybe there had been nothing at all. Still, the unease stayed inside him. He shut the door and locked it tight. Days passed, and the feeling of being watched grew stronger. When he ate, he felt eyes on his back. When he worked, he felt something moving just beyond sight. He told himself it was the silence playing games, but his heart refused to believe that lie. One evening, as he sat by the fire, he heard a sound, not the storm, not the wood cracking, but something soft, like a hand brushing against metal. He froze, listening. There it was again, near the kitchen. He stood, tool in hand, and stepped slowly across the room. The firelight flickered on the walls. The sound stopped. The room seemed empty, but the air was heavy with presence. Aaron whispered to himself, "It's nothing." But his eyes searched every shadow. Then, from the corner of the room, came a small sound. A breath. He swung the firelight toward it. There, crouched by the wall, was a shape, thin, shivering, wrapped in torn cloth. Large eyes glowed in the half-dark, staring back at him. Not human eyes, but alive, afraid, and desperate. Aaron froze, his hand tight on the tool. The figure whispered, voice weak and broken, "Don't throw me out." The words shocked him. The creature could speak, though the words were rough. It pulled the torn cloth tighter around itself, as if trying to vanish. Aaron stared, breath caught in his throat. Who was this? What was this? Why had it come here into his home in the middle of the frozen night? For a long moment silence filled the room. Only the sound of the weak fire burning. The creature's eyes never left his, wide and pleading. Aaron's heart raced, but his hand did not move. He had lived alone so long. Now something had entered his world, something that should not exist here. His mind screamed danger, but another voice deep inside whispered curiosity. Outside, the storm rose again, shaking the walls. The cold pressed in, reminding him how fragile life was in this frozen land. He looked at the creature again. It was thin, trembling on the edge of collapse. If he pushed it outside, it would not survive. Yet if he let it stay, he had no idea what danger might follow. The fire cracked, throwing sparks into the air. Aaron's eyes narrowed. The silence stretched long, heavy, waiting for his choice. He did not speak, not yet. But he knew this night was only the beginning. The world of ice had brought him a secret, and his lonely life would never be the same again. Aaron stood frozen in place, his hand still gripping the tool. The firelight trembled, throwing weak shadows across the walls. The strange girl-like figure crouched low, her thin body pressed. Against the wall, her eyes, large, glowing faintly, watched him without blinking. She looked both afraid and desperate. "Don't throw me out," she whispered again, voice shaking like glass in the cold. The words were clear, but broken, as if she had learned them only yesterday. Aaron's chest tightened. He had not heard another voice in months, not even his own echoed in his small home. Now a stranger, an alien, was here, speaking in his language. It made the silence heavier, not lighter. He raised the tool higher, keeping it between them. "What are you?" His voice cracked, unused to speech. The creature flinched at his tone, pulled her thin arms tighter around herself. Her skin, pale and strange, had faint patterns like frost on glass. Her lips moved slowly. "Hungry. Cold. Please." Aaron stared, his mind racing. This was no human settler, no lost traveler. Her body was too light, too fragile, her eyes too large, her presence was impossible. Yet here she was, kneeling in his kitchen. He felt anger. His food was already low, his home already fragile. Yet beneath the anger was something else, a hollow feeling that had lived in him for too long. Loneliness. The creature raised one trembling hand, pointing toward the stove. "I can cook," she said, the words broken but firm. Her voice grew stronger, fueled by need. "I can help. Clean. Work." Then, with a breath like a blade, she added, "I can stay useful." Aaron's grip on the tool loosened a little. Was this some trick, or was she truly that desperate? The fire crackled, filling the silence between them. Her eyes never looked away, always wide, always begging. He thought of the storm outside, the deadly cold. No creature could survive long out there, not in this freezing world. And yet she had found his home, entered it, and now begged to stay. If she was dangerous, why would she plead? Why not attack? Why not take? His stomach growled, reminding him of his own hunger. He moved slowly to the shelf, took out a small piece of dried meat. With careful steps, he tossed it toward her feet. "Eat," he said, his voice low but sharp. "If you're lying, No." The creature snatched the meat with surprising speed, but she did not swallow it whole. Instead, she sniffed it, studied it, then took a small bite. Her body trembled as if the taste burned through her. Tears filled her wide eyes. She chewed slowly, carefully, almost reverently. For the first time, Aaron believed her. This was not an invader. It was someone on the edge of death. After eating, she wiped her mouth with the back of her thin hand. Her voice cracked again. "I can stay. Only small space. No trouble." Aaron's heart pounded. Every part of him screamed caution, but something else whispered louder. The thought of silence returning, of empty days and nights. The thought of pushing her back into the storm to die. He could not yet answer, so he only said, "We'll see." The girl lowered her head, almost bowing. Then she curled up on the floor near the fire. Her body shook less now, warmth creeping into her fragile frame. Aaron watched her carefully, never taking his eyes off her. Even as exhaustion pulled at his mind, he refused to sleep. For hours he sat, tool in hand, eyes fixed on the intruder. She did not move, did not speak again, only breathed softly, her chest rising and falling like a small, weak animal. When the storm outside calmed, Aaron rose and walked to the window. The snow was deep, glowing faintly under the weak moon. No tracks, no sign of others, no hunters or machines searching. For her, who was she running from? Why had she come here to his lonely home? Questions clawed at his thoughts, but the answers waited in the shadows, silent and heavy. At dawn, Aaron lit the fire again. The girl stirred, opening her wide eyes. She sat up slowly, then looked at him. Her voice, still broken but stronger than before, whispered, "Don't throw me out. I can do more." Aaron said nothing, but his silence carried weight. He had a choice now, a dangerous one. Keep her, or send her back into the frozen world. Either way, his life of lonely survival was over. The intruder had changed everything. The storm outside roared again, shaking the weak walls. The girl pulled the cloth around her shoulders, her eyes fixed on him. For the first time in many months, Aaron felt the air heavy with decision, the kind of choice that could shape not just one night, but the rest of his life, and somewhere, in the shadows of the storm, he thought he heard something new. A whisper, faint, almost like voices carried on the wind. Were others searching for her? Or was it only the snow again, playing tricks? Aaron did not know, but he did know this. The stranger was here to stay, at least for now, and the silence of his frozen world had finally been broken. The fire burned low. Aaron sat at the small table, sharpening his knife with slow strokes. Across from him, the strange girl crouched close to the heat, her thin hands stretched toward the flames. Her skin glowed faintly in the orange light, the frost-like patterns across her arms shimmering as if alive. Neither spoke for a long time, the silence only broken by the soft scrape of metal on stone. Finally, she looked up, her wide eyes meeting his. "I can cook," she said, her voice broken but firm. Her words hung heavy in the air. Aaron raised one eyebrow but kept sharpening the blade. He did not answer. She tried again, louder. "I can repair small things, and I learn fast." Her voice cracked, but she did not stop. "You give me chance. I give you help." Her thin hands shook as she placed them on the floor, almost like an offering. It was not just a request. It was a bargain. Aaron studied her carefully, his face hard. He had lived too long in silence to trust easily. She was weak, thin, yet her eyes hid something sharp. Desperation, yes, but also determination. She was not begging now, not only, she was negotiating. "What do you want?" Aaron asked at last, his voice deep and low. Her eyes lit faintly at the sound. "Only stay," she said, "not outside, not in cold." Her gaze dropped to the floor. "Outside? I die." The words struck him harder than he expected. He remembered the storm's scream, the endless hunger. Yes, she would die if thrown out. And part of him knew that truth already, sat heavy in her eyes. Aaron stood, set the knife down, and walked to the shelf. He took a pot, filled it with melted snow, and set it on the stove. She watched every movement, her body tense as if expecting him to throw her out at any second. But instead he placed a small bag of dried roots on the table. "You say you can cook," he said, his tone flat. "Show me." The girl blinked, then crawled forward quickly. She opened the bag, sniffed the roots, and nodded. Her hands moved fast but careful. She broke the roots into pieces, added them to the water. She searched the shelves with her eyes and pointed at a small jar. Aaron gave a short nod. She added a pinch of the brown spice inside. The smell rose slowly, filling the room with warmth. For the first time in many months, the air carried something other than smoke and cold. Aaron crossed his arms, watching. She stirred with gentle movements, her eyes half closed as if remembering. Her lips moved, whispering words he did not know. It was almost like a prayer. After some time, she poured the stew into 2 small bowls. Her hands shook as she pushed one toward him. "Eat," she said. Softly, Aaron lifted the spoon, took a bite. The taste was simple but warm. It filled his chest in a way he had not felt in months. He took another spoonful, then another. The girl's eyes brightened faintly at the sight. When the bowls were empty, she sat back, her voice trembling. "See, I can make food. Better than nothing." Aaron nodded once, not smiling but not frowning either. She breathed out a small sigh of relief, but then, as if afraid relief alone was not enough, she leaned closer. Her next words cut sharper than the cold. "I can bear children," she whispered. Aaron's eyes narrowed, his body stiffening. Her gaze did not waver, though her voice shook. "My kind, dying, no future. Your blood strong together and survive." The room grew heavier. The fire crackled, but even its warmth could not cut through the silence. Aaron stared at her, his mind twisting. Her offer was more than food, more than work. It was life itself, a future, a strange and dangerous union. He turned away, pacing slowly across the small room. Her eyes followed him, wide and filled with pleading. "Not now," she added quickly. "Not force. Only promise. If I stay, I give you more than work. I give family." Aaron's chest tightened. He had lost family long ago, before the ice swallowed everything. The word alone carried pain, yet in this frozen, empty world, the thought also carried weight. Could it be possible? Could this fragile creature truly mean it? He slammed his hand against the table, the sound echoing through the cabin. "Enough," he said sharply. Her body flinched, but she did not look away. Her eyes glistened, her lips pressed tight. She had shown her cards. Food, work, even life for the future. She had laid them all before him, desperate not to be cast out. Aaron sat again, leaning forward. He stared into her glowing eyes for a long, heavy moment. Finally, he spoke. "You stay. For now." Her breath caught, hope flashing in her face. But his voice grew harder. "One lie. One trick. You go into the storm, understand?" She nodded quickly, almost too quickly. Yes, I understand." Her voice shook, but her eyes burned with something fierce. Not just survival, something deeper, older, hidden. That night, as Aaron lay by the fire, tool still within reach, he did not sleep easily. Her words echoed in his mind. "I can cook. I can bear children. Together we survive." The bargain was struck, but the true cost was still buried in the snow, waiting to be revealed. Strange bond begins. The days after the bargain felt strange. Aaron was used to silence, to the rhythm of cutting wood, melting snow, checking empty traps. Now the silence had cracks in it. The girl moved through his home. Soft footsteps, soft voice, her presence always near. She had no name she would share. So in his mind he called her the stranger. At first Aaron never let her out of sight. When she cooked, he stood close, tool in hand. When she cleaned, he watched from the corner of the room. But slowly he noticed something unusual. She did not act like an enemy waiting for a chance to strike. She acted like someone afraid of being sent away. Every action seemed to whisper, "See, I am useful. Keep me." She cleaned the stove, repaired broken cloth with thin, careful fingers. She even patched a hole in the wall with scraps of wood and ice. Small things. But Aaron noticed. The home looked less broken, less empty. Even the air smelled different. Warm food instead of only smoke. One evening, as she stirred a pot of stew, Aaron asked, "Why come here? Why my home?" The question had been burning in him for days. The girl froze, spoon trembling in her hand. Her eyes dropped to the floor. "Because human strong," she whispered. "My kind weak now, hunted, fading. I run, I hide. Then I find you." Aaron's eyes narrowed. Hunted? By who? Her lips pressed tight, and for the first time she looked away. The fire reflected. In her large eyes she whispered, "My own kind." Then she said nothing more. That night, when the fire dimmed, Aaron lay awake. He listened to her quiet breathing across the room. He thought of her words, hunted by her own people. What kind of creature ran from her own kind? And why come to him, a lonely man in the snow? The next day he tested her again. He gave her a small broken trap, metal twisted and useless. "Fix this," he said, his tone sharp. Her thin fingers worked carefully, bending, shaping. To his surprise, she mended the trap with clever tricks. Not perfect, but working. When she handed it back, her eyes waited for his judgment like a child waiting for food. Aaron only nodded, but inside, his suspicion shifted. This was no helpless creature. She was learning, adapting, surviving. At night, as the storm raged, she whispered something that made his chest tighten. "If I stay long, I give you more. Not just food, not just work." Her eyes glowed faintly in the firelight. Her voice carried a weight beyond her thin body. I can bear children. Your blood will live. My kind will live. Together and strong. Aaron turned away, heart pounding. Her words were strange, almost dangerous. Yet part of him felt the pull, the idea of life, of family, something he had long buried. He said nothing, but her whisper followed him into uneasy sleep. Days passed and the bond between them grew stranger. Aaron found himself listening when she hummed soft tunes he did not know. He watched her hands as she worked, quick and skilled. Sometimes he even forgot to keep the tool in reach, but at the same time, he noticed things that chilled him. Sometimes when she thought he was not looking, her eyes glowed brighter. Her skin shimmered faintly like frost catching the light. And once, in the dead of night, he woke to find her standing over him. Not moving, just watching. When he stirred, she stepped back quickly, whispering, "Only checking you breathe." Aaron could not decide if it was kindness or something darker. Still, he did not throw her out. Each day she stayed. Each day she bound herself more tightly to his life. The cabin no longer felt like only his. It felt shared, and that frightened him more than the storm outside. One evening, as they ate together, the wind howled louder than before. Then a sound cut through the storm, sharp and unnatural. Not the voice of wind, not the crack of ice. It was a howl. Long, guttural, alive. Aaron froze, spoon halfway to his lips. The girl's eyes widened, her body trembling. She whispered, "They come." Aaron gripped the table, his voice sharp. "Who?" She shook her head, fear written across her face. "Not my kind." "Worse, hunters of snow." Aaron grabbed his tool, moved to the window. Through the storm, shapes moved. Low, fast, circling. Not human, not like her. Beasts, large and dark, teeth gleaming in flashes of moonlight. The girl's voice shook. "If they smell us, they break in. They kill us both." Aaron's heart hammered. For the first time, the fight was not only for his survival, it was for hers too. The bond had changed everything. The beasts circled closer, their howls cutting through the storm. Aaron turned from the window. The girl crouched by the fire, her hands glowing faintly. Her eyes burned with strange light. For a moment, Aaron wondered if the danger was not only outside, but also sitting inside his home, waiting. The storm raged. The beasts drew near. And Aaron knew this was no longer just about keeping warm and eating enough. This was about trust, about danger, about the bond that was forming between human and stranger. A bond as sharp as the storm outside. A bond that could either save them or destroy them. The storm howled without pause. The walls of the cabin shook, wood creaking like bones ready to break. Aaron stood with his tool in hand, his eyes fixed on the window. Shadows moved beyond the white curtain of snow, low shapes, fast, circling. The beasts of the frozen plain, hunters that feared neither, cold nor man. The girl crouched near the fire, her eyes glowing brighter than before. Her body trembled not with cold but with fear. "They know," she whispered. "They smell us. If they break walls, no chance." Aaron's jaw tightened. He had heard stories of these beasts when the settlers first came. Creatures that could tear through doors, that hunted in silence until the last moment. But he had never faced them himself. Now they were. Outside his home, circling like wolves around weak prey. One shape lunged against the wall. The cabin shook. Snow fell from the roof in heavy chunks. The girl cried out, covering her head. Aaron moved quickly, shoving wood against the door. He gritted his teeth, whispering, "Stay quiet, don't move." For a long moment there was silence. Then another slam, this time against the window. The beast's face flashed in the firelight, eyes black, teeth long and jagged. It snarled, leaving deep scratches across the wood. The girl gasped, her glowing eyes wide. "They not stop," she said, voice breaking. "They wait until we weak, then break all." Aaron's chest pounded. He knew the truth of her words. In the frozen world, everything waited for weakness. Storms, hunger, beasts, even people. But then he noticed something. The beasts circled the cabin, but their eyes sometimes darted toward her, not him. It was as if they knew she was inside. He turned, his voice low but sharp. "They want you, not me." The girl froze, her lips pressed tight. She did not answer. Aaron's eyes narrowed. "You know why," he said. Her silence screamed louder than words. Another slam shook the cabin, snow pouring in from a crack in the roof. The fire hissed as water dripped onto the flames. Aaron cursed under his breath. They could not last the night like this. He turned to her again. "Tell me the truth. Why are they here? Why do they want you?" Her face twisted with fear and shame. "My kind. We made them," she whispered. Aaron froze, staring at her. She kept speaking, her words spilling fast, desperate. "Long ago we make hunters, tools for war. They stronger, faster, no mercy. We lose control. They turn on us, now they hunt. Us always." Aaron's stomach dropped. The beasts outside were not just wild animals, they were weapons, broken machines of flesh and hunger, and she had brought them here, to his home. His anger rose like fire. "You didn't tell me," he hissed. "You led them to me." Her eyes filled with tears, glowing faintly. "I run. I hide. I thought safe. I not mean to bring death, please. Believe." The beasts slammed against the walls again, wood cracking. The cabin shook, dishes falling from shelves. Aaron raised his tool, rage and fear twisting inside him. He wanted to throw her out, give the beasts what they wanted. But as she crouched, trembling, clutching her thin arms around herself, he saw more than danger. He saw despair. If he pushed her outside, she would be torn apart in seconds, and the beasts might not stop with her. They had tasted human scent now. The fire burned low, shadows shaking on the walls. The girl whispered, "I can help. I have power." Her hands lifted, glowing faintly. The frost-like patterns on her skin shone bright. Aaron's breath caught. He had seen hints of this before, the shimmer of her body, the strange glow in her eyes. But now it was stronger, sharper, alive. "What are you?" he demanded. She looked at him, her voice shaking but clear. "My kind not only weak. We hide strength too. If you trust, I fight for you." Aaron's mind spun. Was this another trick? Or was she truly more than she seemed? Outside, the beasts circled closer, their growls shaking the door. Inside, the girl's body glowed like ice catching fire, the air filled with tension. Aaron stood torn between choices: trust her, and risk her destroying him, or refuse, and die. Together, when the walls finally broke, the beasts howled, the roof cracked, snow pouring in. Aaron met her glowing eyes. For the first time, he saw not only fear there, but also fire, determination. She wanted to survive, maybe as much as he did. "Show me," Aaron growled. "Show me your power." The girl rose slowly, her body shaking but steady. Her hands glowed brighter, ice forming around her fingertips like claws of crystal. The firelight reflected on her frost-marked skin, turning her into something both beautiful and terrifying. She looked at him one last time, her voice low but fierce. "Then we fight together." Outside, the beasts roared, slamming against the cabin with all their weight. The wood cracked, the door splintered, and the frozen night was ready to explode with blood and fire. The cabin door shook on its hinges. Each slam from the beasts outside split the wood wider. Snow burst through the cracks in white clouds, chilling the air. Aaron gripped his tool, breath sharp, heart pounding. Beside him, the girl stood glowing, faintly, her frost-marked hands rising as if ready to strike. The beasts roared, their voices mixing with the storm. Then, with one final slam, the door shattered inward, wood splintered across the floor, the fire flickered and almost died. 3 of the creatures stormed inside. Their eyes black pits, their teeth long and dripping. Aaron swung his tool, the blade crashing against the first beast's skull. It snarled, staggered, but did not fall. Another leapt toward him, claws flashing. Aaron rolled aside, the wood floor cracking where its strike landed. The stench of their breath filled the room, rot, hunger, blood. The girl cried out, her voice sharp as glass. Her hands burst with white light, cold rushing into the room. Frost spread across the floor in jagged lines. The nearest beast slipped, claws scraping against the ice. She thrust her hand forward, and a shard of crystal shot from her palm. It speared the creature through the chest, freezing its body solid. The beast howled once, then shattered into frozen pieces. Aaron stared, stunned. The weak, trembling stranger he had taken in was no helpless being. She was power, cold and sharp, as the storm itself. But there was no time to think. Another beast lunged, its jaws snapping for his throat. Aaron swung his tool again, this time burying it deep into the creature's shoulder. It roared, thrashing, knocking him against the wall. Pain shot through his ribs, but he held on, twisting the blade deeper. Blood sprayed, steaming in the cold air. The girl moved fast, her body glowing brighter. She reached out, ice racing up the beast's legs. It froze solid in place, its snarl trapped in crystal. Aaron yanked his weapon free, stumbling back, chest heaving. The last beast snarled, circling, its black eyes. Darting between Aaron and the girl, it crouched low, muscles bunching, ready to strike. The girl raised both hands, frost swirling around her fingers like smoke, but Aaron saw her tremble, her strength fading with each breath. Whatever power she had, it was burning her body from the inside. The beast leapt, claws outstretched. Aaron shouted and swung. The girl screamed, throwing her power at the same time. The clash filled the cabin with light and sound. The beast slammed into the frozen wall, half its body covered in ice. Aaron's blade struck its throat, cutting deep. With one last gurgling roar, the creature collapsed, still and broken. Silence fell, broken only by the crackle of the weak fire. Snow drifted through the shattered doorway. The smell of blood and ice filled the air. Aaron stood gasping, his tool dripping red. The girl knelt, her glowing hands dimming, her body shaking violently. He stared at her, chest rising and falling hard. "You lied," he said, his voice low, but sharp. Her wide eyes lifted to him, glowing faintly even through exhaustion. "I not lie," she whispered. "I said I help, now you see." Aaron gritted his teeth, his anger twisting with confusion. "You said you were weak, you said you needed me." Her lips trembled. "I do. Power not enough. It kills me slow. Burns me. I need food. Shelter. You. Alone I die. With you, maybe I live." Her words cut deeper than the beast's claws. He wanted to believe, but his heart raged with doubt. He had seen her power, deadly, terrifying. How could he trust something so dangerous in his home, and yet, without her, he would be dead already. The beast would have torn him apart. The girl dragged herself closer to the fire, her body trembling. She looked at him, her eyes wet. "Please, don't send me out. I save you, and we can live together." Aaron tightened his grip on the tool. The thought flickered in his mind. End this now while she was weak, strike her down before she became more threat than ally. But another thought came, sharp and painful. The image of the beasts tearing through him if she had not been there. The memory of the warm stew she cooked, the repairs she made, the sound of her voice breaking the silence of his lonely world. His heart thundered. Torn between fear and need, at last he lowered the blade. "You stay," he growled, "but if you betray me, if you bring more of them here, I end you myself." The girl bowed her head, her lips whispering, "I understand." Aaron turned away, staring at the snow pouring in through the broken door. The cabin was no longer safe. The beasts no longer. A story whispered by settlers. They were real and they had found him. But worse than the beasts was the truth. He was no longer alone, and the choice he had made would change everything. The girl's voice, soft but clear, reached him through the silence. "They will come again. Not beasts only. Others too. My kind if they find us. No peace." Aaron's chest tightened. The storm outside roared louder, as if answering her words. The battle was over, but the war had only begun. The cabin stood broken, its door shattered, walls scarred by claws. Snow drifted across the floor, covering the frozen bodies of the beasts. The fire burned weakly, struggling against the cold that seeped in from every crack. Aaron sat by the ruined doorway, his tool resting against his knee. His breath fogged the air, heavy and tired. Beside the fire, the girl lay curled in a blanket, her skin pale, her body trembling from the fight. Morning came slow, the storm easing into silence. The frozen plain stretched wide and endless, untouched except for the black stains of beast blood. Aaron stared out at the horizon, his mind heavy. For years he had lived alone, believing silence was safety. Now silence felt like a lie. The world was alive, full of dangers and secrets he could no longer ignore. The girl stirred, her glowing eyes opening weakly. She looked at him, her voice soft. "Still here." Aaron gave a short nod. "You saved my life," he said, his tone rough. She smiled faintly, though her lips shook. "And you saved mine together. We live." Aaron wanted to argue, to push her words away, but deep inside he knew she was right. Without her, he would be dead. Without him, she would be frozen or torn apart. Their survival now was bound together. For the next days, they worked, side by side. Aaron patched the broken walls with whatever scraps he could find. The girl cleaned the blood, rebuilt the fire, even helped him repair traps. Her strength slowly returned, though he saw how it cost her. Each time her hands glowed, her body shook harder. Her power was great, but it drained her life like water from a cracked cup. At night, as the fire warmed them, she told him more. Her kind had once ruled the frozen plains. They had built beasts for war, but the beasts turned on them. Now her people were scattered, broken, fighting to survive. Some wanted peace, but most had grown cruel, desperate. "They see humans, strong blood. They want it. They take it," she whispered, her eyes full of sorrow. Aaron's stomach turned. So it was not only beasts he had to fear, it was her kind too. And if they ever learned she had come here to him, they would hunt them, both. One night, as Aaron checked the traps outside, he saw something strange. In the sky, a faint red glow blinked among the stars. Not natural, not storm. A signal, sharp and steady. He froze, his chest tightening. It was no beast. It was a call. Someone out there was watching, searching. When he returned, he found the girl sitting by the fire, her eyes low. She already knew. "They come," she whispered. "My people. They look for me." Aaron's jaw clenched. "They'll find us?" She nodded slowly. "Not now, but soon. Signal means scouts. More will follow." The cabin walls seemed smaller, weaker. Aaron paced the floor, his breath heavy. He had survived storms, hunger, even the beasts. But against her kind, against more with power like hers, what chance did one man have? The girl watched him, her voice quiet but sharp. "You can send me out, maybe they leave you, but maybe not. Once they know human here, they take you too." Aaron stopped, staring at her. Her eyes glowed faintly in the firelight, filled with fear and hope. "You stay," he said at last. Her breath caught. "You sure?" Aaron nodded, his voice low, steady. "We face it together, or we die alone." She bowed her head, her lips trembling. Then, together. The following days they prepared. Aaron strengthened the cabin walls, dug traps in the snow, sharpened every blade. The girl gathered herbs, taught him small tricks to preserve food. Sometimes he caught her whispering in her strange tongue, her eyes turned to the sky. He did not ask what prayers she spoke, he only worked harder. At night, as they sat close to the fire, she whispered things that unsettled him. "If we survive, I give you family, your blood with mine. Strong future." Aaron stared into the flames, silent. The word family cut deep. It was both promise and burden. One evening, the wind carried a sound not of beasts, not of storm. A faint hum, mechanical, steady. Aaron's blood turned cold. He stepped outside, snow crunching under his boots in the distance. Lights moved across the horizon. Not beasts, not settlers, machines, scouting, searching. The girl stood behind him, her voice low. They found us. Aaron gripped his tool tight. His life of silence was gone. His lonely cabin was no longer hidden. The frozen world had woken, and his choice, the choice to let her in, had tied his fate to hers. The hum grew louder, the lights came closer. Aaron whispered to himself, "Then let them come." Beside him, the girl's hand glowed faintly, her frost patterns lit in the dark. Together they stood at the edge of the broken cabin. One human, one stranger. The storm had only been the beginning. The true battle was still to come.